and what you guys were able to accomplish?
I feel like our communication, guys, was very detailed in the preparation and things like that. So watching the film, you see guys doing hand signals, communicating things like that. So I feel like that was something that was very huge that game.
I was asking Durant about it, but when you heard the term "King of Chaos," what did that mean to you, and how have you guys tried to adopt it?
I mean, it's just somebody who's out there just causing mayhem. I mean, if it's a sack, it's a forced fumble, interception, somebody who's really causing disruption to the offense is really somebody who's the king of chaos. So I feel like that's something that really brought a lot of energy.
And Avalos kind of mentioned something that was interesting to us, that each coach kind of in charge of something different. Like Popovichs, his turnovers, and there's guys in charge of tackling and stuff like that. How do they try to stress those sorts of things from those different aspects? Does it D-line coach, you guys work with him a little bit at times like that too?
I mean, so we will be in a meeting room together as a whole defense, and then they'll go out there and they'll have one day it'll probably be Coach Pop the whole day, the next day it'll probably be Coach K, or they maybe split it out 20 minutes in between. So I feel like they do a great job of hitting all the points. Even though Coach K is a D-line coach, he still hits the linebackers and the DBs, and he knows the expectations, and we know the expectations as well. So it's just not like he's just watching the D-line, he's watching us, and just like Coach Pop with the turnover, he's showing tomahawk, things like that to help get turnovers and little things like that. So I feel like all the coaches are doing a great job in that point.
With UConn, what stands out to you about those guys? And certainly I think the quarterback obviously will catch your eye right away.
I mean, yeah, he's a guy who's very athletic. He's a guy, he can move. He got some moves, he got some style. So somebody like him, somebody is great, to be able to face. At the same time, the receiver corps, they was out there making plays. We see, they are still on one page with the quarterback. When he's scrambling, they're moving. So, he got a whole lot of options. So I feel like they have a great bond.
And Coach Harsin was saying just because they played a really good team, maybe they didn't look as good as maybe they are. I mean, so you look at some of the actual stats and players, you see a team that maybe is better than a 30-point loss or whatever they had?
I mean, you never really look at the score. I mean, no matter who they play, no matter what it is, those teams that they play against are always going to bring their best when they play against the Broncos. So, watching that game, you see some things. Like, even though they played UCF, and they was very big last year. When you watch that game, you see that UConn was ready to go. I mean, their quarterback was making plays, finding ways to get his team involved. They was in there fighting, no matter what the score was. So you can really see that dog in the team.
When they have a mobile quarterback like that as a DB, do you do anything differently, or how do you, when you know that he might tuck it and run, how does that kind of change things?
I mean, not necessarily knowing when he's going to tuck it and run. You just really got to read your keys. That's what the coaches do. They help you prepare for stuff like that. So you try to watch it. Because as he's scrambling and running, those receivers, they're moving. So as a DB, you got to get ready to pass to play your man, because he may be running and get right at the line of scrimmage. Chuck the ball deep. So you never really know until he's literally at least 10 yards past the line of scrimmage.
What's Jalen bring to the table? What's he bring to your guys' cornerback room?
Jalen, the guy who brings a lot of energy. He's young in a sense, but at the same time, he's a guy who's really stepped up. I mean, he's watching a lot of film, he's asking a lot of questions, and he's really stepping up in that area. So he's a guy who I feel like brings that type of energy. He's smart. I mean, he can do it all. He's fast, he's long, he could get physical, he can play off, he can tackle, he could do all those little things. So he's a guy who really is helping the DB room.
You couldn't help but obviously see UCF playing on film against UConn. Do you guys kind of keep your eye on UCF? I know obviously people are talking. You guys are two of the best Group of 5 teams. Do you know anything about UCF? Do you keep your eye on them a little bit at all?
I mean, as a defense, you always watch other defense and see what you can learn from or what you can gain from them. So you watch other defense that's being successful and figure out what that defense is doing that we can bring to the table. So we do watch them. They are a great defense, and then for us, we just try to figure out what did they did very well and what can we add or help to improve our defense. So we always find ways to improve, because in this game of football, it's always something you can get better at.
We asked you after the game a lot about Sean and what you saw in practice, but also CT. Was able to make a big play out there, and Harsin kind of said he didn't think he dropped the ball, all off season. Well, when you got against CT, what stands out to you about him?
I mean, well, all those guys. CT's a guy who's, he's very shifty, I'll say. He's a guy who's, he'll make you miss if you don't get your hands on him. And at the same time, he's very consistent, when it comes to, making those type of plays. So, just like that whole room, it doesn't surprise me at all that they went out there and had the performance they had because, they really prepared for that moment. So for them to go out there and do that, it just shows like, all their hard work is really coming together.
And yesterday with Harson, I was talking to him about you guys as a team focusing, when you're up a tremendous amount. I mean, how are you staying focused? What are you doing to stay focused even when you're ahead to avoid making any mistakes?
I mean, it just goes back to show, as you watch games with teams come back and things like that, you always got to remember that the game is never over until the clock really says 0-0 across the board at the top. So you just really got to tune in like, hey, they're still in the fight. Even if we're down, we're still in the fight. So we got to have the same mindset, even if they're down, they're still in the fight. So you just got to really find it in yourself to really find out like, hey, like this game isn't over until the ref holds that ball up and the clock says 0-0.
Yeah, obviously got the first road game out of the way. Now you get a chance to come home and open up in front of your fans. What's that feeling like, that first home game, running out of the tunnel and just playing, what are you gearing up for on Saturday?
I mean, it's a lot of mixed emotions when you're playing home. The Boise community is one of the best, fan system that I feel like college football have. They're there, all four quarters. They're yelling, they're there. They're showing all their love, especially the little young ones. So to be able to play home is always a special moment, especially when you run out, you hear that blue and orange. That's something that you really can't feel or really get a feel for.